Hello, welcome to another Tweedy Outdoors video, take 2 of the intro because the first one was long-winded and you would all have clicked away. Suffice to say, the trains today a complete mess. I had about 3 different plans I went through in my head, but all scuppered by train-related problems. So I've just come to my usual fallback of Tring, the area around there, not too far from Ivinghoe Beacon, and I'm going to retrace the steps I did on a... what was that I cooked that time? Some pasta or something in the woods in the Ashridge Estate. Nice bit of open access land not too far from the station. I think this is the spot where I did that cooking back at the end of October. It looks a bit different now, it's all a bit more open I suppose, but then it has been winter in the interim. Today it is the turn of Ireland to have its cuisine mangled by my terrible attempts to do it outdoors, so apologies to the good people of Ireland. Hi Sean particularly, I know you're going to be watching and possibly crying into your keyboard at this abomination, and I'm sorry in advance. This is of course going to be a vegetarian version of Irish stew, so we're already going very heavily off-piste. I went to a big supermarket on the way here but didn't manage to find quite what I wanted to find, so the closest approximation I could find to some sort of brown lumps of protein were these peppered steaks, which I have featured in a video before, so already gone completely awry. Also couldn't buy a single can of Guinness. I'm not actually sure if it is traditional to put stout or Guinness in the stew as the sort of body of the sauce. That may just be an affectation of you know, people think Ireland and they think of Guinness, so that may also be incorrect. Couldn't find a single can of Guinness. The closest thing I could get hold of was this Jamaican dragon stout. It's going completely off script, isn't it? Potatoes and carrots, of course, and a couple of baby onions. So I'm going to start by chopping up some onions. You all really enjoy the footage of me chopping up onions, don't you? A couple of smallish onions of the type that you might use for making pickled onions. I don't know, perhaps a bit too big for that. Terrible footage, as always. Terrible entertainment. Hi Headley. Once again, this table not particularly flat anymore. Not really fulfilling one of its basic obligations as a table. I really ought to get a replacement at some point. This thing's a bit of an embarrassment now, isn't it? I did do a bit of research about Irish stew, and the sense I get is that basically whatever you do is going to be controversial. Even the addition of seemingly innocuous ingredients like carrots, some purists would say that's not really a proper Irish stew. Still soldiering on with this, what is it, MSR pot. Butter somehow seems a bit more traditional than oil, perhaps, I don't know. In go some onions. Just seems to want to burn straight away. More onions in there. I cheated a bit with the potatoes and peeled them at home, but perhaps I'll give them a little bit more chopping here just so it looks like I'm doing some cooking. They could probably go in now, I guess. Also peeled the carrot at home. Uh-oh. Trying to get away. Very fresh. Chop that up here. Nice rustic thick chunks. Get the idea. And go some carrot. Uh-oh. More of it trying to get away. This is obviously not going to be very well received by any purists, but we are chopping up some slabs of fake meat. That can go in the pot too. I'm not sure whether the fake meat or the Jamaican stout is going to be the more controversial addition of the two, but anyway, so it's got to go in. Try a bit of that. Interesting. That can give this all a good deglaze. There we go. That happens to be just about the right amount. What was that? 284 millilitres. I might top that up with a bit of water later. And I might, just for now, put the lid on as well. While the Irish stew is bubbling away, it's wine time. Gevrey Chambertin, of course. What better accompaniment could there be to Irish stew? I don't know, Guinness. Could put a slosh of this. Really send it over the edge, wouldn't it? Nice, soft sort of cherry waft there. Possibly something floral. So overall, that has a lovely weight, nice, sort of silky mouthfeel. Cheers. Standard boot trick, holding the wine. What a lovely assemblage. I'm looking forward to this, not least because I'm hungry. I tasted a little bit of the soup and actually thought it was tasting pretty good. I do have some stock with me, some stock powder. I'm not sure I'm going to need it, actually. I don't have a specific plan for how long this needs to cook, other than when the potatoes are cooked. Tried one just now. It's a little bit on the hard side, but just about in the realms of being edible. These are quite waxy potatoes, so they're never going to completely disintegrate or get really soft and fluffy. I think those potatoes are more or less done now. I gave them another quick taste. Final touch. I'm not sure if this is traditional either, or even necessary, but a little bit of flour to thicken. I don't really know that I need a lot of this. Put a bit of flour in, let that cook through. Yeah, that looks better. I don't think I want it to be any thicker than that. That'll do me just fine. So there is the finished dish. Can I top up your wine, sir? Don't mind if I do. Cheers. Should I put some in a plate rather than eating like a Neanderthal? Another shot of the finished dish transferred onto a plate, or the lid, which I think sort of functions as a plate. All at a bit of an angle, but hopefully you get the idea. I should just shut up and eat this. Tweedies, very, very inauthentic Irish stew. Let's try a bit of potato and a bit of carrot. It is amazing how much flavour that has. There is no stock in there, didn't season it. This is just the whatever flavour was given out by the fake meat, plus the Jamaican stout. And of course the butter and the onions, a bit caramelised. But that is great. I think the sort of pepper crusting on that fake steak, probably incredibly inauthentic. I doubt an Irish stew is meant to be laced with pepper like this, but it is actually kind of delicious. There's a bit of sweetness from that stout, but it also adds a kind of savoury quality somehow as well. Really pleased with that. Really sort of hearty, gutsy. That was absolutely delightful. Once again, apologies to the good people of Ireland for completely butchering a classic dish with probably lots of inauthentic tweaks. You know, in my defence, it was just out of desperation. These were the ingredients I could get hold of on the day. Not quite sure what to do now. I suppose I might take a walk through the Ashridge Estate to see what the rest of it has to offer. Hello, what's your name? You sniffing out the Gevrey Chambertin. Hashtag leave no trace. Rather impressive collection of plate fungi. This former silver birch tree. And this is probably, to all intents and purposes, a fairly ordinary bit of English woodland, but I'm just finding it really delightful this afternoon. Oh, I seem to have joined the Icknield Way. Confusingly, is that sort of the cycle route? I think that's the Bridgewater Monument. Can't remember what it actually signifies. There's some sort of visitor centre here as well. Suddenly humans everywhere. It's disappointing. Father of inland navigation, apparently. Ooh, should we take a quick diversion to see a barrow? There's the Moneyberry Hill Barrow. Bronze Age, it said on the sign back there, 4,000 years old. Quite early Bronze Age then, if that's the case. Quite a big old chap. These oak trees on top. It's a little bit against the script, isn't it? It's normally Scots pine or beech trees on top of barrows. Actually, I'm not sure they are oak. Look at the leaves. Maybe oak, I don't know. I am sort of vaguely wending my way to Ivinghoe Beacon, but there's so many people on this track. It's quite a surprise, actually. Bit of a gap in the trees here. The views have opened up a bit. It's a nice woodland track, but for me, a bit too many people. First snowdrops I've seen today. Quite a lot of them in that little patch of woodland. I assume it's an escape from, there's a house just the other side of the track here. Views opening up again. A bit. That's the path down there where I normally huff and puff my way up to get up to Ivinghoe Beacon, or at least this first plateau before the final peak. Interesting to see it from this angle for a change. I've tried to keep as much height as possible on this walk from the other end of the Ashridge Estate to Ivinghoe Beacon. I just passed a group of young folk who I'm guessing perhaps don't come out to the countryside that often. And they're all asking me, why are you wearing a suit? It seemed to blow their minds. I told them it's actually very practical outdoor gear. Of course tweed is. More or less final straight to Ivinghoe Beacon now. Views are open up very nicely. Might be in for at least a moderately okay sunset if I stick around that long. There it is, off in the distance. Actually still a bit of a walk to go. Almost there. Still not quite at the top. One last little bump before the main summit. Sun's looking nice, bit cloudy. I don't know if it's going to be a great sun. I always say this, don't I? I always feel like I have to manage expectations. You'll get what you're given. I'm going to film the dramatic moment getting over the brow of the hill at Ivinghoe Beacon while I'm huffing and puffing, seeing the view. Oh, but is it one of those false hills? This is going to end up a very long segment. I'll get back to you. It impresses me every time, Ivinghoe Beacon. You'd think for somewhere so close, I know I say the same things every time, so close to the M25, really not that far out of London. And yet look at all this green and pleasant land as far as the eye can see. I mean, there are obviously signs of habitation here and there, but pretty much in 360 degrees greenery, and it's also flat down below. It's quite a significant projection compared to the surrounding landscape. Amazingly, I seem to have the summit all to myself. I think that's not normally the case unless it's pitch black or freezing cold, pouring with rain. Wonderful. That Tring point, somebody left a ping pong ball there. It's a bit weird. Ooh. Cheers from Ivinghoe Beacon. This place is special to me for several reasons, not least because when I first got my first GoPro, I know I'm on the second one now, it feels like it's still the first, it was replaced for a technical fault. When I first got it, this was the first bit of countryside I came to. I think I might even have this old bit of footage lying around somewhere of I was practicing holding the stick and talking to camera, and a random stranger told me I was very vain.
I was going to say they're very vain. But you're more vain.
And also, this is where I started my walk along the Ridgeway National Trail. I got the train to Tring, and then because I had a long walk to do that first day, I cheated a bit and got a taxi to Ivinghoe Beacon, and the taxi dropped me off down the bottom of that hill. It's quite steep. I don't know if that's coming out on camera. I got about 3/4 of the way up and managed to drop my water bottle. It fell out of my bag. It went rolling all the way down the hill, and having just, you know, climbed most of the hill, I then had to do it again. A bit like grand old Duke of York. Lots of nice memories associated with Ivinghoe Beacon. Beautiful spot. 15 minutes or so until the moment of sunset now. It's a bit of a shame about the car noise down below, isn't it? But this side of the hill just is the best view of where the sun is setting. If I sat on the other side of the hill, I don't think I'd get quite the same level of car noise. Can't have your cake and eat it and all that. This is becoming a running theme, having some Burgundy at sunset in the Chilterns. Well, that was delightful. Sat and watched the sunset. Tried to get a time lapse. I'm not sure if it came out well, but you know, often a bit of a disappointment, those things. Would have been slightly nicer if were it not for the existence of other human beings. Of course, this is kind of a popular spot, and other people wanted to enjoy the sunset as well from Ivinghoe Beacon. It's time to march on back to Tring. Terrible camera work. Oh wow, there is no way that's going to come out on the GoPro, but the moon is orange right now up above the lion on the hill leading up to Whipsnade Zoo. Going to do a bit of the Ridgeway, 3 miles perhaps. Look, the moon. This is going to be a slow walk back to Tring. I keep stopping to look at this post-sunset light. A very big part of what I like about the gloaming twilight as the light is fading is simply that you get the whole place to yourself. I've been regularly passing people most of the afternoon, but as soon as it gets dark, there were a couple of people up on Ivinghoe Beacon enjoying the sunset. They obviously parked their cars very nearby, I imagine. I doubt there will be anyone else on the path now. I sometimes wonder if these incredibly muddy tracks are actually easier in the dark. You're less picky about the route you choose through them, just tend to plough through. Can you see the sheep? They seem remarkably unperturbed by my presence. Having to admit defeat at this point and use a light because I'm entering that bit of woods. Is it called Oldbury Nowers? Up on the hilltop back there it was just about light enough to see with the moonlight, but I think with the tree cover here I'm going to need a bit of extra help. So here I am walking through the woods in the dark. Fortunately it helps a bit that I sort of know this path somewhat, walked it several times. I think this is pretty much the end of Oldbury Nowers here, isn't it? Nowers? How do you pronounce that? I don't know. Made it back to Tring just in time for a train. Bit of a mad dash towards the end there, so I didn't film much footage the last half an hour or so of the walk, but it would have been dark anyway. Thanks very much for watching. Sorry it's a bit repetitive. Ivinghoe Beacon again, and see you on the next one.